everyone. My name is Morgan Rue, and today I'll be presenting my research proposal examining how social media reshapes perception and reality. My project argues that social media doesn't simply reflect our views, it actively reconstructs them through social cues, engagement methods, algorithms, and our own psychological need to belong. To begin, past research consistently shows that perception is not just an internal process, it's shaped by external feedback. In digital environments, other people's reactions become part of how we interpret our own experiences. William and Jarvis shows that even something as small as the number of likes can increase or decrease a person's sense of belonging. Houston and colleagues found that simply reading user comments can shift how people evaluate content itself. Across the literature, the common theme is that perception online becomes socially constructed, meaning our interpretation of reality gets filtered through what others think, how they respond, and what platforms choose to show us. One of the strongest predictors of perception change online is the human need for belonging. Research on ostracism shows that feeling ignored, even through the tiny cues like lack of engagement, produces real emotional reactions. William and Jarvis found that low engagement increases feeling of exclusion, and Guyo et al. Right here show through neural data that disagreement with the majority triggers negative feedback into the brain, while agreeing with the majority activates reward pathways. This explains why social media users often conform, not because their beliefs actually change, but because expressing a minority opinion feels socially risky. Caution and colleagues describe this as the spiral of silence, where the fear of isolation discourages people from sharing distinctive views. Over time, people began doubting their own interpretations as the majority opinions become louder and more repeatedly affirmed. Another major factor shaping perception is echo chamber phenomenon. So this is established by Sin L et al., which shows that people online naturally cluster into groups with similar views. Algorithms then intensify this by selectively amplifying content that matches what users already engage with. Lee, Lu, and Hugh describes how people began relying on this pseudo environment to judge reality, essentially trusting the version of the world that algorithms repeatedly show them. This repetition makes certain opinions feel normal, credible, and widely accepted, even when they're not. This creates a feedback loop, which is engagement cues that tell the algorithm what to boost. The algorithm boosts the contents again, and the user see the same viewpoint repeatedly until it feels like the truth. The attention economy adds another layer. Platforms don't show content based on accuracy. They show whatever keeps people clicking. Bryson Wolf showed that users rely on simplified GIF level impressions from memes, which makes emotional or exaggerated content more memorable and persuasive. Plalegdet et al. Demonstrated how social comparison further reinforced altered self perception. Negative feedback consumes more cognitive resources, meaning emotionally charged content captures more attention and therefore get amplified more often. Livingston et al. Works on why mom's culture showed how repeated exposure normalized behavior, not by persuasion, but simply by the frequency and attention. Together, these findings build the foundation for my hypothesis. Based on this body of this research, I propose three hypotheses. For my first hypothesis, I propose that people exposed to algorithmical amplified posts with visible engagement cues will show more opinion change than people exposed to neutral posts. My second hypothesis is individuals with a higher score on conformity tendencies will display greater post exposure opinion change. And lastly, my third hypothesis, those who feel higher perceived ostracism will show the greatest shift because exclusions heightens the reliance on majority opinion. I expect these to be supported overall, but with mixed magnitudes. Some groups will show moderate change, some might show less, but the pattern should be consistent. Study will involve 60 to 100 undergraduate students from Xavier University. All participants must be active social media users, which is defined as at least 1 hour of daily personal use on their preferred social media. I will also collect demographic information, including age, sex, race, primary platform use, device type, and whether they keep their post notifications on or off. These variables act as potential controls because prior research shows that device type and engagement setting influence attention and susceptibility to conformity. Several validated tools will be used. First, I will use a conformity and social influence scale, which was adapted by Jiyo Oh and Zhu Ho Kim, measuring the likelihood of aligning with majority opinions online. Second, I will use a perceived ostracism scale, which is from William and Jarvis, which will be assessing the feelings of being ignored or feeling excluded. Then a opinion strength scale, I will do a pre and post part of this so I can measure the opinion before and after exposure. Then a demographic questionnaire. This will help control the individual differences. These materials directly connect to the psychological mechanisms of ostracism, conformity, and confidence to opinion change. Participants will first complete all pre-measures. Then they are randomly assigned to one of two fed conditions. The first one being algorithmic fed. So this will be the experimental group. There will be visible likes, shares, comments, a mostly charged majority opinion, and also mimic a real platform reinforcement. Then we have the neutral feed, which will be the control group. Have same posts and images, no engagements or metrics, and it'll have neutral factual captions, no opinion based. Both groups will view the post for about 20 minutes. Immediately afterward, they complete the post test opinion strength scale and manipulation check. Because the design mirrors real world scrolling behavior, this method captures naturalistic influence while still maintaining experimental control. I expect moderate opinion change overall, consistent with the past research suggesting that social media has measurable but not extreme influence after short exposure. Participants in the algorithmic condition should show a larger shift than those in a neutral condition. High conformity individuals should show a somewhat stronger shift, and participants high in a perceived ostracism should show the largest change of all. This pattern reflects how social belonging, algorithmic reinforcement, and emotional salience jointly influence perception. If these results occur, they would support the idea that algorithmic engagement cues function as a social proof. People rely on popularity metrics when forming or revising opinions. The conformity scores would reinforce the idea that internal tendencies interact with the external digital cues, and stronger effects among ostracized individuals will highlight how vulnerable people become when seeking belonging in digital spaces. Overall, the findings would suggest that perception is socially constructed not only through other people's viewpoints, but through platforms designed itself. However, there are several limitations. The first one being the stimulated feeds. A real algorithmic feed are far more complex and personalized. So not having that will ultimately be a little bit of an issue, but not too much. Next will be the single site samples. Results may not generalize beyond Xavier student population. It might only reflect the students who participated on campus. Next, we have the potential demand characteristic. Some participants might guess the engagement cues are the focus and change their opinions. Then we have the real algorithms differ. My stimulation cannot recreate platform level data tracking. Even with these limitations, the study still offers important foundational insight. Research has two implications. The first one is understanding online conformity. Findings can help explain why misinformation spread and why people shift opinions without strong evidence. The second one is understanding exclusion cues. Low engagement may have psychological consequences, influencing how people interpret themselves in the world. These insights matter not just for psychology, but for the digital literacy, mental health, and platform design aspects. For the future research, two key directions for the future research would include cross platforms comparison. Different platforms emphasize different formats. Some have memes, videos, threaded conversations, which may influence conformity different. The next one would be real feed study. So I would recommend using real time tracking to live algorithmic feeds could reveal stronger and more naturalistic opinion and changes in pattern. Here are my references. Feel free to look. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, I am open to listen. Thank you.